Normally I like to share pretty vintage inspiration, details to inspire your pattern cutting or pattern hacking. And if you'd like to learn that with me, do have a look at the link in the description. However, the dress I'm going to look at in this video is a great example of the design getting lost in the maybe design process. It's fantastically pattern matched, but the overall result just doesn't quite work. This is Bali. Bali been around for ages. I think it's Italian Swiss, so Swiss Italian side of Switzerland. Beautiful leather goods, really high quality. It's the sort of stuff you see vintage stuff and it looks amazing after 50 years. It's always been quite equestrian, horse riding influenced, but I think a lot of leather goods companies have that heritage from horse riding and luggage quite often. But this just made me laugh because it's beautifully pattern matched. You know how we always talk about, yeah, pattern match, I pattern matched it. And well, I've done before where I pattern match it perfectly and look at it and think, oh, that doesn't actually work pattern match. And this is a perfect example of this. It beautifully pattern matched. It just doesn't work. It's like what it basically is, I think, is a very Viennette inspired barrel shape. But the way they've treated the check, I'm just not a fan. What do you think? You can actually see how beautifully this is made, how it sort of flows around up into the collar, it flows onto the sleeves. It's literally pattern matched perfectly throughout the whole garment. And it's just that it comes out in the skirt, it's just, there's something not quite wrong. But I think it would be quite hard on that fabric, if you want to pattern match everything, to keep it flowing throughout, because what it basically is, if I draw it out for us, I think, so it's basically a dress which is quite beautifully fitted. It's got an interesting collar as well. I want to sort of see how it looks at the back. Sandra is saying, if it stopped before the skirt, it would be beautiful. It would indeed. So you can see we've actually done probably a dart here in the where you can't see in the blue, but then we've also done a seam here, which gives you a really nice it gives you the lines, they go up a bit, and that's actually quite flattering. That always, I quite like that when you use a fabric like that, so that's really flattering. And then of course it goes up to here. And I have to say, I appreciate that it's probably really beautifully done. But I always think if you pattern match everything around here, it can sometimes look a bit flat. So I'm not always a fan of pattern matching around there. It can look really beautiful when it's done in the vintage style, where the cut is quite feminine. And the way sort of maybe meeting at angles and stuff. But here I think it actually looks, again, it looks a bit flat. But then when it goes a little bit weird, and I think this is very much what Viennette called her barrel style, which is like a peplum. And when Viennette combined it with both straight styles, and she also combined it with full circle skirls. They've done it with a straight one. So what you've basically do is, rather than a normal block, which looks like that, you cut it apart from there around here, and then you basically end up with like a straight piece, and then you end up with a piece like that. Charles James has done it as well. Clover dress is a good example of that. And actually they've done it more straight, haven't they? Like this. And then, I don't actually even understand it. They must have, if you have, actually no, that's exactly what it is. It's like sort of, the fabric goes like that. And maybe because of how she's working, it actually looks distorted, like it comes up. So I literally just said, oh yeah, we have to follow this up. we have to follow this up, so we have it all pattern matched carefully. But because this is a curve, it then ends up looking like this. So you have that weird distortion there. And it would have been really beautiful if I then, for example, instead of doing a single one, if I'd done it in, you know, if I'd done it in several panels, you could have had a skirt which sort of goes like that, and then actually becomes really feminine and really interesting. And actually Claire McArdle did some beautiful stuff with tartans. But this is just like, you can see the ideas there. The skill and craftsmanship is there, but it's just like, what happened? Nobody look at, or do I actually think it should be like that? In which case, I apologize. I appreciate your vision, even if I wouldn't want it. But it's just sort of which is one of the reasons I love looking at vintage clothes, because you got hundreds of years, but even the last 100 years, you can pick the best ones, and you can disregard all the stuff where it didn't quite turn out, which you know nobody's going to probably quote this in 100 years as a beautiful design.